apologizing to your wife and why it's useless. Because it is, okay? Even though we have this thing called the bulletproof apology, but it has nothing to do really with apology in a way, okay? So your wife does not care about your apology, right? Like, you got to get that, right? In fact, you should, to be honest, you should never even really use the word apologizing or sorry. Now, there are situations where you'll probably need to, like, you can say things like, I'm sorry you are going through this, right? Let's say your wife loses her job or she loses a relative, right? But to use the words apologize and sorry for your actions toward her, that's a big waste of air, okay? It doesn't mean anything to her, and it really doesn't make any difference moving forward from that point on when the action was taken. In fact, to be honest, it's more likely to make things worse, right? Because if the behavior which you were apologizing for doesn't change and you do it again, then your apology or saying sorry again, then it starts to lose even more value. But what's worse is that your word as a whole, as a man, right, that like diminishes in value significantly. Okay? So instead, I want you to focus on a couple of other things, and we're going to kind of go into that. Okay? Number one, as it is, the ones I'm saying are in this order, okay, is acknowledge, right? When you do something that you shouldn't have done, let her know that you messed up if you actually did, but don't say sorry or apologize. Just acknowledge. Okay? So, for example, hey, babe, you know what? Actually, I'm not going to give an example now. I'm going to go through each one of them, and then we're going to do one big example to kind of go through the whole thing, okay? On how that looks. So, acknowledging means that you're letting her know that you're clear that you messed up and you're not sure why. You don't know why you did it yet. You're just clear that your action that you just took, which hurt her, shouldn't have been taken. Okay? And you want to let her know that you are not clear around why it happened. Okay? Now, then you got to go get clarity. And in the process of letting her know that you are not clear why it happened, you'll also let her know that you'll come back to share once you have dealt with the behavior. You're not ready to do that yet. It just happened. You're clearly not in the picture as to why it happened. You just know it shouldn't have happened. But then you'll come back, right? You're demonstrating ownership, and you're letting her know that you will come back and share with her why that happened, what the behavior was. Okay? Now, after that, you want to go into emotional work, because the behavior was driven by some emotion behind it. Either you reacted, most cases it's out of reaction. It's not really either. When you're doing something that you're not proud of, when you're doing something that is inconsistent with the man, father, husband you've always wanted to be, usually is driven from insecurities which have you react. Okay? So you've got to do the emotional work behind what's driving the behavior. And when you've done that, you've got to recognize the simple truth that's behind it all. Like, usually it's very simple. I'll give you an example. Let's build on the stupid bullet example that I was talking before. I had that bullet, right? And I was going to pay university with my father. This was many years ago, 2000, early 2000s, 2006, 7, something like that. And we're standing in the bank, and my father asks me, what is the price of oil today? What is the exchange rate of the Canadian dollar versus US dollar, blah, blah, blah. So this is like 7 a.m. in the morning. I'm standing in the bank. We've been working together. We had a little family kiosk. We're working in the summer together every day, May to September. and I worked for him for free so that he would take care of school. And this was towards the end of the summer, right? Like imagine working 6-7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day. At 7 a.m. in the bank, I'm standing there and he drops me these questions. And I'm like, I don't know. I just woke up, like, leave me alone, right? And one of the things he said was, how can you be going to university for economics and business if you don't even know what's going on in the world, right? So back then, me, insecure, like really took that to heart deep. My stupid bullet was even like 10 levels down from that. It really hurt what he said at that point, right? And then I was able to recall other instances back in my life when that happened. And when I did the emotional work around this and I've gotten rid of my stupid bullet, the simple truth that came to me was that, by the way, this was in front of me all the time, but I couldn't see it because of the emotion. It was that my father had the tools that he had to prepare me for life. And all he could do to prepare me for life is to try to create guilt in me so that he would motivate me to succeed in life. And he didn't know any other way. And once I got clear about that, it really hit home, right? But that level of simple clarity cannot come until you've dealt with the emotion behind it. And since then, like, several behaviors have altered in the way I interact, not only with my father, but with anybody, where my stupid bullet used to kick in. Okay, so that's an example of what it means to do emotional work, and that's an example what it results in and what I mean by this simple truth. Now, once you've done that, right, so you acknowledge what you did, you've gotten clarity, and then you've done the emotional work, then you want to get back to her to fulfill your promise, right? Because once you are confident that the emotion behind the behavior has been dealt with and that the behavior is no longer there, right? Like this means that you've been looking, you've been aware, you've been put into situations where that behavior would have come up, but now you see that it's no longer coming up. I'm no longer interrupting my wife. I'm no longer yelling. I'm no longer reacting by walking out the door. Whatever is the behavior. I'm giving you just examples, right? So now you want to go back to her and let her know why it happened, where it came from, what you did to get rid of it, and explain or hypothesize how it will be different moving forward because you no longer have that behavior. Okay? And notice, nowhere in this little mini training here did I say anything about sorry or I apologize. Right? Just pure focus on action. What you do, how you show up, and how you own coming back to her and explaining it without using the word sorry or apologize a single time. Yeah, powerful. John, anything you want to add?
Yeah, powerful. Just really highlighting the action component of it, right? And you touched on it earlier as regards she's already experienced all those times you've said I'm sorry. And all those times you changed for a day or changed for 2 days or changed for 2 weeks. And then went back to your old behaviors, went back to your old patterns. Why? Because you didn't fundamentally address the underlying issue, which was your insecurities. So she's tired. She's tired of the apology. She's tired of the I'm sorries because she has a whole book of I'm sorries from you over your relationship. And they all turn out to be null and void eventually. And I said, why? Because you don't fundamentally change, despite your best intentions, despite whatever willpower you bring into the conversation, despite, oh, things are going to be different from now on, there's a behavior associated with that action that you're not altering until you start dealing with your insecurities.
Oh.
And it's only from that point you can really talk about actions are going to be different. And you don't even have to talk about it. Your actions will be different because you fundamentally altered something about yourself.
Mhm.
And that's what's going to show her that's what's going to give her the confidence. That's how you're going to build the trust. It's not in what you say. Again, you see it at the start of every year. Everyone talking about what they're going to do with their good intentions, with their New Year's resolutions. And it's all BS unless it's backed up by action. And that's
Mhm.
where a lot of people fall short, right? Just bridging the gap between what they're saying versus what they're doing. So become a man that's focused on what he's doing rather than just on what you're saying.